Tonight on NAIT NewsWatch.
Will NAIT students be back on campus after reading break?
I just feel like I could do a lot better in person.
Like it or not, the trucker convoy has reached Alberta.
The people who planned this did not think through all of the repercussions.
A new study is recommending changes to public transit to better accommodate female riders.
Women are more likely to be part-time workers. Women are more likely to be caregivers.
NewsWatch starts now.
Good evening. Although it may be a new year, post-secondary students in Alberta are still taking their classes online.
With most schools set to return to in-person learning after reading week, will that actually be the case? Our Adil Ahmed joins us live from our news center with more on that story.
Thanks, Jade. NAIT and 6 other post-secondary schools across the province were planning to return to in-person learning back on January 24th. However, because of the rise in COVID hospitalizations across Alberta, schools decided to delay their in-person returning until February 25th, causing a lot of concerns and questions from students.
For example, if I connect a simple...
Dawood Ibrahim is one of thousands of post-secondary students across the province who's having to take theory classes from his own bedroom, something that makes him feel isolated.
Less interaction, real-life interaction with the teachers and stuff. So yeah, I'm more of an in-person type of guy, to be honest.
While the pros of taking classes online can be taking it from your own home, the cons of it for Ibrahim is his grades being impacted.
I just feel like I could do a lot better in person. We can see it with my marks as well.
Meanwhile, this is what the scenes at schools like NAIT are, filled with empty hallways and empty classrooms. However, certain lab classes like respiratory therapy are still being conducted in person. But with the ever-changing restrictions, all options are still on the table.
Like I say, if something came up or safety was an issue and they came back and said, you have to do this, I've got a B plan and a C plan, man.
While students across the province are uncertain if they'll be back in person or staying online past February 28th, the recent announcement by Alberta Premier Jason Kenney indicates that there is a possible chance that post-secondaries across the province will ease their restrictions as well and let students come in and out doors like these ones. So as of right now, NAIT and the 6 universities haven't made a decision yet on what's going to be happening past this month. But as of right now, what we do know is that students will find out a final decision before reading week.
So Adil, what will NAIT need in order to get students back in person after reading break?
You know what, I spoke with Andy Weiler, who's the Director of Pandemic Response here at NAIT, and what he told me earlier this week was that, public health guidance is going to be one of the main factors into NAIT making their decisions moving forward.
You mentioned that students will know before reading week what's happening for the rest of the term. Is there any exact date for that?
You know, Jade, right now, unfortunately, there's no current decision yet as to when that announcement will be. So it's best for students to just constantly be checking their emails through their phones and from their respective universities.
Thanks, Adil. That's Adil Ahmed reporting live from our city center tonight.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch.
The Truckers' Freedom Convoy pulled into Ottawa this past weekend, but truckers and supporters continue to make an impact statement closer to home in Coutts, Alberta. Truckers and supporters of the hashtag Truckers for Freedom 2022 movement continue to rally together for Day 7 of the Coutts border standstill to eliminate government health mandates. The protest has created tension at the border and strained a small village.
I want the barricade down and I want people able to move freely again. That's, when people talk about rights, that's one of the rights that we have is freedom of movement, and they've taken that away.
While people have the right to protest, the blockade has made it difficult for essential services such as school buses, mail, and home care assistance to reach Coutts. Police can choose to enforce the Critical Infrastructure Defense Act that gives grounds to arrest and charge those who participate in demonstrations that impact the state or well-being of others.
As grocers start to see a delay in resources and supplies, consumers may see an increase in prices. Stocking up on familiar goods might be limited to labor shortages, weather, and agricultural factors, but the recent truckers' vaccine mandate is factoring the delay at the border.
Some of them, their product, which is very sensitive as far as time that it can be on the trucks, they've had to turn back to go to the plants to get it repackaged.
According to the Canadian Beef Council, 150 loads of Canadian beef were stocked at Coutts border Monday. While Coutts is one of Canadians' 3 main ports that undergo agriculture and food inspection, rerouting would cost supplier chains a significant amount of money and delays up to 14 hours, which may turn consumers more.
A new University of Alberta study hopes to bring change to the bus system to better accommodate its most frequent riders, women. The inspiration for this new development came from a book titled Invisible Women. The book is about how data biases are geared towards men. However, women are the primary transport takers. The goal for the study is to get conversations started within the community.
A lot of the gender and societal roles that are placed upon women feed into how they travel. So for example, women are more likely to be part-time workers. Women are more likely to be caregivers. They're more likely to do more of the domestic work at home. And so this obviously changes how you act day to day and what needs to get done.
Furthering knowledge on women travel patterns, transit agencies can improve services which will benefit the province both financially and environmentally.
The police service is now using facial recognition software as a tool to fight crime. This new tool is going to increase the solvability of crimes and ensure a safer community for all. This technology will only be used with specially trained technicians. Police say they've already seen the benefit of the technology since the beginning of the year, as it's already helped in 2 investigations.
We can identify offenders in need of help or support from the social sector. We can help navigate that process and better address root causes and long-term solutions.
We have looked into the privacy implications of the solution to ensure any data collected is done so in compliance with VoIP legislation.
The technology will not be used with social media accounts or CCTV live streaming, but it will take images and match it to already existing mugshots under the police database.
Coming up after the break, we feature a campaign that's educating the public for Eating Disorders Awareness Week.
Approximately 1 million Canadians are diagnosed with eating disorders, and those who suffer rarely speak up for help.
Oh, we're really worried about this celebrity. She's looking very thin and very sickly.
Next up in sports, we got the NAIT women's volleyball team, as long as the Edmonton Rage, and of course, the Edmonton Oil Kings.
Coming up in weather, see if the sun's gonna come out or if temperatures are gonna continue to fall. You okay?
Hey Jay, did Alberta's groundhog Balzac Billy see his shadow on Groundhog's Day?
He did. He did see his shadow, Emmanuel. So I guess that means that we're stuck with winter for at least 6 more weeks or so. Our Quentin Schroeder is here to tell us just how much longer this cold weather is going to be sticking around for.
Balzac Billy, what a name. Shadow or not, it's the beginning of February and we live in Alberta, so winter will always be around a bit longer than we hope. There's some cool Arctic air that continues to linger in northern Alberta, which has been bringing that chilly weather we've been feeling throughout the week. That cool air is also being met with a low pressure system, which has been bringing places like Grand Prairie and Fort McMurray lots of snow. Let's check out tomorrow's forecast for the rest of Alberta. Heading to Jasper. Calgary, here we are. Shaping up to be a beautiful day down south. We're going to start around -1, but things will warm up to around 4 degrees in the afternoon. Jasper, I'm not too sure what the perfect temperature or conditions would be for snowing or skiboarding, but Jasper looks to be it. There's a 60% chance of some light flurries early in the morning, be -4 for an average low, but it will warm up to around +5 in the afternoon. And Fort McMurray, they're getting some heavy snow overnight. That snow will continue early morning, die down around late afternoon, but it's going to be -20 all day. So check in if you have any friends or family up north to see how they're doing. And Edmonton, the city of champions. We're going to start the day around -7. It'll warm up to around 1 degrees in the afternoon, but it should be a nice day to go for a walk in the river valley or perhaps check out some of the outdoor exhibitions or events throughout the city. Taking a look at the averages, sitting around what we're experiencing this weekend. It'll be around -5 for a high and -13 for a low. And the averages, if you were around in 1886, you would remember that it was 12 degrees that day. Would have been a great day to get outside and do some farming. The average low in 1907 was -41. So that's Edmonton weather, though. It's up and down. It's all over the place. I'm Quentin Schroeder. That's your weekend weather. Jade, Emanuela, back to you.
NewsWatch weather sponsored by NR92 Campus Radio.
Eating Disorder Awareness Week has started in Alberta, and Alberta is showing its support.
The Eating Disorder Support Network of Alberta has a 7-day event to reach its goal and spread awareness.
I also refuse to be uncomfortable, because you shouldn't be uncomfortable.
The Eating Disorder Support Network of Alberta, better known as EDSNA, is holding an Eating Disorder Awareness Week event throughout the province for the first week of February.
This problem would be so much worse in our province if it weren't for these organizations providing the support that they do to the many people across Alberta and across Canada that suffer with this illness.
Over 55,000 Albertans are affected by eating disorders such as anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating, and psychologists say that social media plays a big part in causing this issue.
People, particularly on social media, will on the one hand say, oh, we're really worried about this celebrity. She's looking very thin and very sickly. And then on the same page, they're going to talk about how fat another celebrity is. And it's really, really toxic.
Although Dr. Ashley believes that spreading awareness on eating disorders might lessen the stigma, some people with eating disorders worry that the more people talk about this, the more insensitive comments might be made.
You have to be careful what you say to people because it could really hurt someone. I think it's good to have representation of other people who struggle with eating disorders to make it aware that it's okay to struggle. You're not the only person.
EDSNA is planning on holding this event again next year with different activities.
The Ooks women's volleyball season is winding down, and the team's new coach hopes to finish the season on a high note.
And we see how the newest member of the Edmonton Oil Kings is fitting into the team. Brandon Beauchamp is here with sports.
Thanks, guys. The NAIT Ooks women's volleyball team has a new head coach this season. She is a retired volleyball Olympian and used to coach for UBC. She has been inducted into the UBC Hall of Fame and is now a coach for NAIT. The Ooks women's volleyball's previous head coach retired at the end of the season last year. Former Olympian Erminia Thorpe has taken the position of head coach. Benj Hendricks has coached the NAIT Ooks women's volleyball team for over 22 years and stepped down to pursue another passion of his since Erminia has been coaching the Ooks women's volleyball team.
Erminia really brings a lot of female knowledge into the game as coaching females, as Benj really didn't have. She kind of sees us from a different viewpoint, which is really awesome.
With this year being Erminia's first year of coaching the Ooks women's volleyball team, the Ooks women's team are set to play King's University tonight at 6 p.m. and tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. The Edmonton Oil Kings recently traded for Justin Sourdif from Vancouver, BC during the 2022 WHL draft. Justin is a prospect from Florida Panthers, and we get to see him play with the Edmonton Oil Kings. The Edmonton Oil Kings recently traded their forward, Jacob Boucher, for the Vancouver Giants in exchange for Justin Sourdif. During the 2022 WHL Prospects Draft, since then, Justin has joined alongside with Jake Neighbors and Dylan Gunther for the 2022 Oil Kings season.
And I found it really easy to play with those guys. Obviously, Coach Lauer, he likes to move around different lines depending on how the team's playing. And I think guys just find chemistry with each other pretty quickly. And I think I found some with those guys for sure.
In 2021, Sourdif signed to the Florida Panthers and is currently playing with the WHL. With the Oil Kings, the Kings won 6-2 against the Medicine Hat Tigers Wednesday night. The Edmonton Rage is an LGBTQ hockey team where any gender or sexuality can feel accepted. If they have a big event coming up this weekend, Julian Schulthaus has more on that story.
The Edmonton Rage is a hockey team comprised of non-binary LGBTQ people.
Kind of saw a bit of a gap in the sports opportunities that are available for people in the LGBTQS plus community. So we kind of came together, wanted to place in a group to play with. So ultimately we're a hockey team, but we also try and be more than that.
Founding member Brett really enjoys hockey, but did not like any of the current Edmonton rec leagues because of the lack of LGBTQ representation in them.
A friend of mine from work recommended the Rage because they were like all-inclusive. Didn't ask too many questions and just very welcoming. So really it was my first step into Alberta hockey. So it means quite a lot to me.
The Edmonton Rage is similar to other rec league teams as they play against other rec league teams. They are currently 4-18.
There you go.
The team has a big event coming up on Saturday at the Ice Palace in West Edmonton Mall. The team is playing against one of the bigger Calgary non-binary teams. They're calling it the Battle of Alberta.
It's super great that we're having like a Calgary team come up. I didn't even know there was a Calgary team until earlier, a couple months ago. So it's just great to see people with the same interests as me and to see that they have an inclusive team that's going to play with us.
Now, even though we were just talking about the game against Edmonton Rage versus the Calgary Pioneers, you can catch the Edmonton Rage in other rec league games in rinks similar to this one here at Clairview. Julian Schulthouse, NAIT NewsWatch.
Well, that's a look at sports this week, and me being a huge hockey fan, I'm definitely going to have to check out the Rage. How about you, Manuela?
I think I might go to the Edmonton Oil Kings for sure. I've never been to one, so it'd be great.
Jade, how about yourself?
I'm not sure if I'll check any of them out. However, I am curious how Sordiff there is handling the Edmonton cold compared to the Florida heat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Coming up after the break, we cool down with ice sculptures on Whyte Ave.
And we are going to rock your world and go bouldering.
Especially if you don't have a lot of knowledge, so that's what I'd recommend. Coming here.
Tonight on Entertainment, we're going to be taking a look at The Mountaintop, a play being put on by Shadow Theaters about Martin Luther King's final days. Additionally, we're going to be going across to Whyte Avenue to take a look at the fabled tradition of Ice on Whyte. Stay tuned for more.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch, the next generation of news.
Welcome back to NAIT NewsWatch. This semester, we're catching our reporters trying different activities in the city.
Our Ian Tidswell heads out to try his hand at bouldering. Let's see how he made out.
This week for Try This, let's try some bouldering and vertically inclined.
If you want to get started with climbing, what do?
Well, I think the best first step is to come to a climbing gym. I mean, we have the soft padded floors, we have all the systems in place to teach you how to get into the sport. A little bit less risk than going outside and starting, especially if you don't have a lot of knowledge, so that's what I'd recommend, coming here.
Awesome, they certainly do have everything you need. Do you have a favorite climb here at the gym?
I like climbing on the prow, which is it's a very steep area, quite challenging, so it's fun because it's scary.
After a little bit of stretching, you want to actually warm up, get that body temperature going. So about the shoes, you really want to make sure you've got them nice and tight. I'm no expert, but one thing I do know about climbing is it's all about your center of gravity. The further away your butt is from the wall, the more that weight you're going to have to carry with your heart. So getting that butt as close to the wall as possible will let that climb be a whole lot easier. Woo! For NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Ian Tidswell.
Wow, that looks really challenging but fun. Join us next week on the next segment of Try This.
Now that we've tried something new, let's cool down with seeing something new around town. After a 2-year hiatus, a big winter event is back. Noah Rashog is here with entertainment.
Thank you, guys. Edmonton's iconic Ice on Whyte event is now open, and they're happy to be back gracing Wilbert McIntyre Park once again. Ice sculpting talent from all over the country has come together to create a display that isn't to be missed. From mythical creatures to symbols of our Great White North, the event space feels like a small chunk of Disneyland here at home.
So Ice on White normally is an international ice carving competition, and we have artists that come from around the world, and they compete for a berth into the Canada Cup of Ice Carving. And we work very closely with Winterlude in Ottawa and Ice Magic in Lake Louise, and we do an international circuit.
Beyond just the displays, attendees will have the opportunity to see sculptures being made live in front of them. And if they're feeling creative, they'll have an opportunity to make one of their own. A perfect and perishable present for a partner. Ice on White looks great. And when you're done, if you aren't ready to end your evening just yet, directly across the street, you'll find the Varscona Theatre, where Shadow Theatre Productions is starting Black History Month strong.
No, not carrying on, testifying.
Shadow Theatres is back with their production of The Mountaintop, a play imagining the last day of Martin Luther King Jr., where actor Ray Strachan will be reprising his role as Dr. King for the third time in his acting career.
In this play by Katori Hall, he is visited by a hotel maid on a lonely night, and they just get into a debate, and they have great conversations about life and what the movement is.
The show has been hailed for showing the human side behind the civil rights icon, as well as touching on the themes of individual potential and legacy. This is the first public show Shadow Theatres has put on since the pandemic, and they're eager to once again perform for an audience.
Thanks, Noah. Ice on White looks great this year.
Oh, it certainly is. Like, you have to be there to believe it. The sculptures are incredible.
That's really cool that you can try it for yourself.
Yes, I know. When I was out there shooting, I got to see the sets, I got to see the Ice on White sculptures, and it was a great experience. It's certainly not something worth missing.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Noah. It looks great.
Thank you, guys.
That's our show this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Visit naitnewswatch.ca to stay updated throughout the week.
And follow our Twitter and Instagram accounts for a behind-the-scenes look at how we put on the show every week. Stay safe, and we'll see you again next week.